From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice. This is America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill, yellow arm cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. Today is Monday, the 9th of February, year of our Lord 2026. Let's get to the day's top stories. As always, thank you for joining me here on Real America's Voice. We appreciate it. Reports show that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be heading to Washington on Wednesday to meet with President Trump to coordinate pressure on Iran amid renewed talks between Washington and Tehran. I'll bring on a retired Army colonel to discuss that in detail. Also, the Dow Jones closed above 50,000 for the first time ever on Friday, a major milestone I predicted, reflecting the underlying strength of the American economy, even after a volatile week driven by overblown fears of an AI disruption hitting tech stocks. More on that coming your way as well in a few minutes. And then later, Florida is now requiring all driver's license exams, including commercial truck tests, to be offered only in English. This comes after a deadly crash in Indiana involving a semi-truck driver who was in the country illegally, killed several people. Details coming your way. But first, I want to start with China today. President Trump delivering real results on the world stage with China as he prepares for a historic state visit. After months of elevated tensions, Trump held a very positive, long and thorough phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping ahead of his April trip to Beijing, his first as president since returning to the Oval Office. Reports show that President Trump used the call to reaffirm strong U.S. leadership and defend American interests, addressing key issues like trade, energy, agriculture, and security, and stressing the importance of robust relations between the world's two largest economies. He highlighted potential increases in Chinese purchases of U.S. soybeans and other important goods, a win for the American farmers, to say the least. Despite predictable complaints from Beijing about Taiwan and arms sales, President Trump kept U.S. goals front and center, maintaining support for Taiwan while pursuing constructive engagement. The April China visit, part of an unprecedented series of 4 planned summits in 2026, underscoring President Trump's diplomatic momentum and proactive leadership on the world stage, especially against one of our biggest rivals with a serious threat to U.S. national security. This is a big move for the president, of course, as you know, and we are watching closely to see how it plays out. We'll see where it goes from here. Joining me to discuss this is the CEO of Black Ops Partners, National Security Advisor, and the author of The Red Tsunami, The Silent Storm Killing Your Freedom. Casey Fleming will be here in just a moment. We're going to keep an eye on Donald Trump, though, and his efforts overseas, trying to stop wars. Obviously, the most important war to stop is the one in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. It's been a difficult puzzle for this to come through. Join me now, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, jumping in to discuss the visit to China. Colonel, nice to have you here.
Pleasure to be with you, Steve. Thank you.
Donald Trump making a lot of big accomplishments overseas. I don't know what will come out of the visit to Beijing because, frankly, I don't trust the Chinese. I don't think you do as well. But they're an important trading partner. They're important to balance our strength against theirs on the world stage. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very important that we see the president continue to do exactly what he's doing, especially with the rare earths and those minerals, because we've got to show that we don't have a dependency on China to get our economy back stronger, to get more production and manufacturing, especially in our pharmaceuticals back here in the country. So I think it's really important that he goes to China and he owns a little bit of that moral high ground, because that will enable him to be able to dictate some things and show Xi Jinping not so much in a strong position. So I think he continues on with our economic advancements. I think he continues to rebuild our military structure, capability, and capacity, especially our fleet there in the Pacific.
Yeah, I look at all of these deals coming together, most recently the deal with India. Obviously, that's an important deal as well for the president on the Asian continent and the sub-Asian continent. But here's my confusion. I was gone for a couple of days. And I understand that more of the European countries are basically planting their flag in Greenland along with Canada. Look, Greenland has a tremendous amount of rare earths and other minerals that we would have a key interest in because they're strategically important. Yet Europe's never pursued them. Canada has never pursued them until Donald Trump said, look, we need Greenland to protect the United States and NATO and Europe in general. All of a sudden, they all want to go plant their flag there as if they cared about Greenland, which they never have. I mean, the Kingdom of Denmark did gross experimentation on the children there. They sterilized people. They treated them as not second class, but third class citizens. Now all of a sudden they think that they're important. And this is a strange turn of events, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think once again, it shows that all of a sudden Donald Trump gives some priority or attention to a certain region, Greenland, and all of a sudden the Europeans want to act like they've been there. I think without a doubt, you saw that the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, has agreed with President Trump. And I think that also from the American perspective, we should talk more about Greenland getting their independence. And we already have that security arrangement with Greenland, and we can look at how we can develop that relationship even better, to include how we can have economic engagement with them to secure some of those rare earth materials. And I think it's about promoting a better economy for the people there in Greenland. Look at what we've done for the folks up in Alaska with all of the oil and gas reserves that have gone to the benefit of their higher standard of living.
Well, sure. And, and I've talked about this for years, and I think that the Trump administration, under the tutelage of President Trump, is about to pursue something similar to the Permanent Fund. The Permanent Fund in Alaska, for anybody who does not know, they share the wealth of the oil reserves in Alaska with the citizens of that state every year. On average, lately, it's been about $1,800 for every man, woman, and child. They get a check from the government. Here's your check from the Permanent Fund. I think Donald Trump wants to create something similar for the American taxpayer. That's pretty important when it comes to rare earth elements and oil and natural gas and all the remarkable things that we have in this country, right?
No, you're absolutely right. When you look at the resources that we have here, we have a wealth of that. And wouldn't it be a great thing, instead of the green new scam, which the left wants to promote, we talk about how the enrichment and the exploration that we have with the oil and natural gas reserves that we have here, how that can be a benefit to the American people, so that we are promoting our own energy independence and also to be able to produce, consume, and export those resources instead of what we see happening under the Biden administration.
Here at home, clearly there's a lot of gaming going on with the election upcoming. If the election were fair and secure, I think it's pretty clear that Republicans would win in most places. But when the elections are not safe and secure, the outcome is anybody's guess oftentimes. That's why the SAVE Act is so important. And I bring this to your attention, Colonel, because you've got Virginia now who's going to game the system and get rid of 4 Republican members of Congress, so it'll be a 10-1 state. California's done the same thing, and they say it's all in response to Texas. But the truth of the matter is the Democrats have been gerrymandering this country for years. Millions of people in the Northeast and in the New England states have 0 Republican representation, none. And Virginia's going to try to do that even more. How do the Republicans fight back? How do they get this done when places like Indiana say, well, we're not going to do that? Well, then you might as well waste the next 2 years of this presidency for impeachment efforts and other nonsense and circus activities, because that's all we're going to get, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's so important that Republicans stop bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight and realize that this is about the future and legacy of our constitutional republic, especially when you consider the representation. This is one of the reasons why the left wants illegal immigrants in this country, to count them into the congressional representation and lower jurisdiction representation, being at the state level and local level. But without a doubt, I think that what Republicans have to start making the push on is, let's look at the Republican voting percentage in these respective states. Because all of a sudden, if you have a state like Virginia, and let's say they have a 40% or 41% voter turnout for Republicans, how are you going to have a 10-1? That means you're only going to have 10% of congressional representation when you have 40 to 41%, maybe even higher of the electorate. We see that happening in Illinois. So even here in the state of Texas, we're not getting rid of every single Democrat. I mean, we have people like Jasmine Crockett that are representatives here in Dallas area, where I happen to be the chairman for the Dallas County. So I think that we want to make sure that things are aligned with the voting electorate that we see in these respective states, not this tyranny that the left is trying to impose.
Well, clearly, here's one place where the Democrats in Congress just don't seem to get the memo. 83% of Americans, according to Pew Research, support legal government ID, a picture ID to vote, and also verification that you're a United States citizen. And so set aside the voter motor laws for a second, because they give those to anybody who registers as a driver can get a voter registration even if they're not a citizen. Let's set that aside for a moment. Let's just start with an ID to vote and the fact that you have to prove you're a citizen. 83% of Americans support this, including 71% of Democrats, and yet they keep saying it's about defrauding and stealing elections. What are they talking about?
Well, this is just their weak talking point. And when I hear Chuck Schumer, once again, parroting the Jim Crow thing, look, I just celebrated my 65th birthday this past Saturday. 65 years ago, I was born in a segregated hospital, Hughes Spalding Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. That was a result of Democrat Jim Crow policies, separate but equal. So when you want to talk about Jim Crow, these Democrats need to look at themselves in the mirror. When you want to talk about voter suppression, the Democrats need to look at themselves in the mirror. They created the Ku Klux Klan. It was about voter suppression. They created literacy tests and poll taxes. It was about voter suppression. Anybody can get an ID. If you want to talk about suppression, go to the airport. Everyone has an ID when you go to the airport or when you go to a bank. So again, this is the Democrats once again trying to inculcate and institutionalize the ability to undermine our electoral process in America. Never forget, Kamala Harris, 12 of the states that Kamala Harris won in 2024, they did not have voter ID law.
Then you have people like Senator John Ossoff in Georgia requiring a picture ID to attend his rally, but he insists she shouldn't have one to cast a vote so that he could be the senator at that rally. Strange stuff, Colonel. Hold that spot right there. I got more I'd like to talk to you about here on America's Voice Live. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West with us here on a Monday. We'll take a break and be right back. It is ABL.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice. This is a monumental moment in American culture. This Sunday, Real America's Voice and Real America's Music come together to do what the mainstream industry won't. Take the music back. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live with exclusive pre-coverage of the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show, a patriotic alternative. For years, the left has weaponized the music industry, using it to push politics, erase values, and divide the country. That ends now. This all-American halftime show exists to celebrate American pride, traditional values, and artists who still stand with the heartland. Featuring Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett. Artists who connect with real Americans. Join us live for coverage that turns the music industry on its head. Real America's Voice, Real America's Music. The TPUSA All-American Halftime Show.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elf with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
My name is TJ Ash from Carvinville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love RAV? You ever talk to the hosts? You can do that on RAV. And the RAV family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Big news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expected to be back in Washington Wednesday this week to meet with President Trump to coordinate pressure on Iran amid renewed talks between Washington and Tehran. Netanyahu insists any diplomatic effort must go beyond Tehran's nuclear program to include strict limits on ballistic missiles and an end for support to militant proxies, arguing that half measures leave Israel vulnerable. The meeting comes after indirect U.S.-Iran talks in Oman that Trump says were positive, but that Iranian leaders downplayed, especially on missile limits. With regional threats lingering and the two allies doubling down on the strategy that blends negotiation with clear deterrence, reinforcing America's commitment to Israel's security. Back with me now is former Congressman, Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, doing double duty today. Colonel, thank you. All right, let's talk about this. Half measures. And I just, look, a lot of us sit here and look at what's going on in Iran. The people are rising in the streets because their economic conditions are dismal, and they know that the regime in Tehran can do nothing to change that trajectory. It's not going to get any better for them there. You know, the standard of living is not going to get better. Their day-to-day life is not going to get better. And yet we haven't really joined in any forceful way there. What do you expect from the Trump administration? I mean, you've got an entire battle group on either side of the Persian Gulf right now. If something hits the fan, it's going to hit it with American military power. Where do you think we are?
Well, I think it was Albert Einstein that said the pure definition of insanity is to continue to do the exact same thing and think you're going to get different results. If we continue to believe that the mullahs will honor and respect us sitting down and talking with them in negotiations and things of this nature, you're not going to get anywhere. This has been going on since, of course, the Islamic Revolution in Iran. They took our U.S. embassy, held them for quite some time. Why did they release those hostages? Because they saw someone of power and strength come in. That was Ronald Reagan. We remember 1983. I think it was October the 23rd of 1983 with the Beirut barracks bombing. That was Hezbollah, a client proxy army of Iran. And so today we're dealing with the #1 state sponsor of Islamic terrorism, and that's their major export. That's why the people in Iran are suffering under these economic conditions, because the mullahs and the ayatollahs don't care about them or their quality of life. So at some point in time, we're going to have to put that external pressure on Iran, their military capability capacities. We're going to have to isolate them, not allow them to ship out their oil and gas to China and Russia, and especially China. And that's how we're going to have to bring about that collapse of that regime. Not about putting boots on the ground, but we can definitely set the conditions for that to happen.
You know, you raise a big question in my mind when you say that, Colonel. We know that China was getting cut rate oil out of Venezuela. They're also getting cut rate oil out of Iran. What would the Chinese economy be if they weren't getting dirty oil at a cut rate from these rogue nations?
I tell you, they'd be in a world of hurt. I mean, we know that they are already kind of teetering economically, and I think that, after Venezuela, and then if we can, undermine Iran's exports to them, I think that President Trump will be in a strong hand, like we talked about in the first segment when he goes over to visit Xi Jinping in April. So I would like to see that happen. And of course, the reason why you have that armada, if you want to call it that, there is to isolate Iran and to make sure that ghost fleet of oil shipment does not slip through. So I think that's a very important thing. And again, we saw the Iranian belligerents just recently firing a drone toward one of our ships that got shot down, and of course trying to seize some U.S. flagged vessels. So we need to keep that pressure on Iran and not take our boot off of them.
All right, one last topic here. I want to, we mentioned it at the top of the program here, but I do want to shift over to Russia and Ukraine because it apparently seems the two countries are reportedly working on a U.S. set deadline to reach a peace deal by June of this year. We're past the 4-year mark now. Donald Trump is hard at work trying to get these two to come to terms on a peace deal. Neither side getting all that they want. But what are your thoughts? It seems that it goes in fits and starts, but never quite gets anywhere. And they don't stop shooting at each other yet. What's it going to take?
Well, I mean, the ultimate thing would not having Vladimir Putin at the head of Russia, but then who will replace him? I think the most important thing is we have to send the message to Russia is that no more. You're not going to be able to influence any other country's elections. You're not going to be allowed to go in and seize territory from any other country. If we're going to cede some parts of eastern Ukraine to Russia, then there has to be a security backstop that we signed an agreement back in the Clinton administration, 1990s, that said when Ukraine got rid of their nuclear weapons, that the United States would provide that security assistance. We have failed in doing so. Vladimir Putin and Russia have taken advantage of that, definitely during the Obama and the Biden administrations. So Vladimir Putin, again, is one of those guys that only understands strength and might.
Yeah, so true. I mean, I don't trust Vladimir Putin, nor should I, nor will I ever. His health has been in question. Of course, so Xi Jinping. The two leaders of our two biggest global adversaries, both in questionable health. Vladimir Putin, when you get in desperate health, you do desperate things. We've seen Xi Jinping clear out many of his top generals. What is Vladimir Putin willing to do to hold on to power and hold on to the pieces of real estate he's taken from Ukraine? Final word to you.
Well, that's one of the key things. I mean, it is either an implosion or an explosion. Will there be internal strife and problems, being it in Russia or China, or will they try to expand themselves as we see them trying to go toward Taiwan, toward the Philippines, or pushing themselves, Russia, deeply into other countries? So I think that right now, who would be the ones that would succeed them? I don't know if Medvedev steps up after Vladimir Putin. That's not a very stable person. But I think right now we have to show that we will not allow Russian expansionism being under Vladimir Putin or anyone else.
Colonel, always a good conversation. Sir, thank you for joining us for an extended period today. Thank you so much. Yeah, Colonel Alan West. All right, sir. All right, up after the break, I'll take a look at the markets after the Dow Jones ended at over 50,000 on Friday before the very first time before the weekend. By the way, I told you it was going to happen. It did. What other predictions do I have? Not involving sports, I can tell you that. I'll be right back.
This is a monumental moment in American culture. This Sunday, Real America's Voice and Real America's Music come together to do what the mainstream industry won't. Take the music back. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live with exclusive free coverage of the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show, a patriotic alternative. For years, the left has weaponized the music industry, using it to push politics, erase values, and divide the country. That ends now. This All-American Halftime Show exists to celebrate American pride, traditional values, and artists who still stand with the heartland. Featuring Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett, artists who connect with real Americans. Join us live for coverage that turns the music industry on its head. Real America's voice, real America's music. The TPUSA All-American Halftime Show.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to Rab. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
My name is TJ Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? If you ever talk to the host, you can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Well, the Dow closed above 50,000 for the first time ever on Friday. A major milestone I've been saying was coming for months now. It reflects the underlying strength of the American economy, so we'll say some, even after a volatile week driven by overblown fears of an AI disruption hitting tech stocks. The Nasdaq fell more than 2% on the week, with the Salesforce and Service now down 9%. Wall Street strategists are calling the sell-off excessive and urging to stay the course. When there's blood in the streets, buy. Somebody told me that once. This morning, market's moving higher again. The Dow is up about 30 points. It's at 50,144, so holding above that 50,000 mark. Awaiting Wednesday's jobs report and Friday's inflation data. It's all coming our way here soon. Here to discuss, the host of the Heartland Journal podcast and author of Songs About the Heartland, A Journey from Wall Street to Main Street, Steve Abramowitz. Steve, nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. So 50,000, it was predictable. I mean, I'm not anybody special saying it was going to break 50,000, but I did call it for a few months, and there it is. But what does it mean to the average person with a 401k or somebody who's retired? Is it good news? Is it bad news? Is it a red flag? How do you see this?
It's good news if your goal is to beat cash, which is getting eaten away every day by inflation, which you mentioned. So you can't really understand the stock market rise this year without understanding the US dollar and currency markets, which not many do, and a little about the carry trade with Japan, where interest rates are the highest level they've been in 30 years. All these things intertwine to make what we got going on. And Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, before they even got in office, they came up with the Mar-a-Lago Accord, which is a concept aiming at lowering the U.S. dollar, not to weaken it, but to lower it. And that's where we're at. And he's getting his way.
What's the distinction?
What that translates to is a higher dollar, a higher stock market.
All right. So what does that translate to the average guy going to work today? A higher dollar, not a weaker dollar. That's what you said, right?
No, a week, not a weekend dollar. Or sorry, a weekend, not a week dollar. So very complicated, but it's the exact opposite of what the Clinton administration had when they had a strong dollar policy that supported the 1990s stock market boom that maintained low inflation. That's the difference. This time we have high inflation. Last time it was low inflation. So what we're seeing is actually the whittling away of the dollar, the lower purchasing power of our dollar, translating to more expensive stocks. But if you look at it in terms of foreign currencies, our manufacturing goods are cheaper, making our economy somewhat of an engine to keep jobs in place. But what we buy with that salary of that job is more expensive. Complicated, I know, but that is the world that we're in with this inflationary period that DC has caused with all their spending.
Right. Primarily we were spending so much money during COVID, but the problem is, Steve, it didn't get scaled back post-COVID. They continue to spend that kind of money. And let's just talk real honestly here. The number that people see all the time is we're about $40 trillion in debt. That's about a quarter of our debt. We're about 4 times higher than that when you look at the unfunded liabilities of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, pensions, go on down through the states and local municipalities. You're going to find debt that's above $150 trillion. Are we past the point of no return?
We are certainly in dangerous waters, and waters we've never seen before, because we've never seen this much debt in a currency that isn't backed by anything like, say, gold or silver. So what we're happening is globally, that's where I mentioned Japan's interest rates backing up to 30-year highs. Just like last week, we were talking about silver and gold at all-time highs ever, because what's happening is the things that are scarce are becoming more valuable as our dollar's purchasing power is declining, which makes stocks, especially international global type stocks like the 5 on the Dow that did the best, that got us to 50,000, NVIDIA, 3M, Caterpillar. Caterpillar is very important because they have to dig out what's under the ground that everybody's fighting over for these scarce resources. So the answer to your question is, yeah, we are at a situation where our dollar is going to make it very difficult to corner those precious items that we need, like copper, going forward, which is the second highest output for a company, as you know, behind labor. And we saw a whole bunch of layoffs at the beginning of the year, following on to last year, especially in big tech. That is the problem.
So why the crash then? This is something, it gets a lot of discussion on social media. A lot of so-called experts on social media, Steve. Why did silver crash worst day since 1980? If it's in high demand and the dollar's weakened, why did it drop from 121 to 71?
Well, the quote that you just gave is a paper market crash. And so if you wanted to go out to the grocery store and actually buy that silver, or go to Costco and buy that gold, or sell it in Asia, you're going to be paying a lot larger than that crash. So the real price is not the price discovery that we're seeing. You saw a bunch of shorts enter the market in a thin, illiquid market, driving that price down. Real price discovery is much more expensive, about 102 to 120, depending on the quality of your silver.
So where does COMEX go from here? Last question. They're one of the big exchanges that have a lot of paper out there. And the futures market says they don't have enough physical silver to cover the demand if it comes in. Is that the end of a trading market like COMEX? Last question to you.
No, because that's exactly what caused the sell-off, is that they started raising the margin requirements, meaning more capital, more cash had to be in the trade, which covered a lot of naked shorts and things that people that just didn't have it to deliver. They always do this. And so they'll kick the can down to future months when maybe delivery could be caught up. However, we've already been in a deficit for a long, long time on supply, where if there was a quote unquote bank run where everybody said, hey, I don't want this paper trade anymore, I want the actual silver, they wouldn't have it to deliver. Then they'd have to go down to Venezuela, they'd have to go to Asia, they'd have to go to London, they'd have to go get it from other places and pay a very high premium to actually get that. So COMEX has always been a paper trading market, right, which is it can be scary in illiquid times, as we've seen in all market crashes in the past.
Yeah, if you got 33 owners for every actual ounce of silver, creates a problem. Steve, more next time. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Really appreciate it. Now, if you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, or reduce swelling in your legs and feet, well, you're going to love these 2 American-made health supplements. First is Liver Health Formula. Fat deposits in the liver can pile on to pounds and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula helps reduce fat deposits with nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. In a customer survey, almost 60% reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. Next is lymph system support. The natural ingredients in lymph system support jelly flush extra fluid and toxins out of your body, which can help reduce the swelling in the feet and legs. And right now, for a limited time, you get 35% off Liver Health Formula and lymph system support, along with all 45+ health supplements Pure Health Research has to offer. Just go on over to purehealthresearch.com. Use the coupon code that is VOICE at checkout. You're going to save some money. Purehealthresearch.com. Coupon code VOICE at checkout. After the break, Florida now requiring all driver's license exams, including commercial truck tests, to be offered only in English. We'll tell you about it coming up.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love RAV because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
Now here's the smartest thing you're going to hear all day. The state of Florida now requiring all driver's license exams, including, and maybe most importantly, commercial truck driving tests to be offered only in English, saying clear communication is critical when lives are on the line. I mean, how did we have to wait to get to this point? The move follows a horrific crash in Indiana where Bezkhan Baishkeef, an illegal immigrant, semi-truck driver, plowed into a van with 15 Amish people inside. They were being driven to a work site, killing 4. Authorities say the driver entered the country through the Biden administration's CBP-1 app. There have been multiple other incidents. Of course, you saw that terrible crash in Florida where the illegal driver from India made a U-turn on the expressway because that's what people do, right? I mean, come on. Families mourn. Critics say these cases raise urgent questions about who is being allowed to operate massive trucks on America's roadways. 18-wheelers running down the road. Join me to discuss this. Legal expert, host of What's Right show, Sam Rajowski. Sam, look, I have to pass a proficiency test to get my driver's license, and the test is in English. How many languages are we offering out there? I mean, the road signs where I am in every state I've ever visited are in English. How in the world are we giving driver's license to people from India or Pakistan or this guy was from Kyrgyzstan, I believe, involved in this crash in Indiana? I mean, I'm sorry, Sam. Are the signs in Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyzstanish, whatever they speak, in Indiana? Because I don't think so.
Well, Steve, they sure aren't, and this is a hugely important issue. I'm glad you, by the way, brought up that crash in Florida in August, because that driver, that Indian driver who made that awful turn, had tested correctly in only 2 out of 12 verbal questions. And he could identify only 1 out of 4 highway signs. And he still got his CDL. So like, this is a major, major problem. You have to be able to read and to understand English in order to be a safe driver.
Let me stop you right there. If you're in first grade in the United States, and you take an English exam in first grade and you can answer 1 in 4 or 2 and 12? Are you going to second grade, yes or no?
Well, it depends on the state, right? Some kids get advanced,
but the point is, you're probably not.
Yeah.
No, you're probably not. But we'll hand you a CDL, a commercial driver's license. Hey, good luck out there. See you later. As if you even understood see you later. I mean, come on.
Well, I think this is very connected to the SAVE Act. I keep saying that these two things go hand in hand because there's a rush by blue states to give driver's licenses to literally everybody. And so they've stripped away, right? They've stripped away all these completely common sense requirements in order to be able to hand these driver's licenses out like candy. And it's not just CDL permits, right? It's ordinary driver's licenses too. It's just as important that drivers understand English when they're operating their own personal vehicle. Nonetheless, right, this push to give everybody a driver's license so that these people can help the Democrats stay in power is costing lives. And there's accident after accident that keeps happening. Last couple of years in particular, that are directly attributable to the fact that these people aren't English language proficient.
Yeah. Look, there is no way we should be allowing people on our roads that can't pass a simple 1 out of 4. I'm sorry, no driver's license. But this takes me back what you were mentioning there, the motor voter laws. At the time they seemed pretty innocuous. Yeah, you go get your driver's license, they sign you up to vote. Okay, I didn't think much about it back in the 80s, I think when it happened where I was living at the time. What a Trojan horse that turned out to be, huh?
Yes, it was a complete scam. And the idea behind it was Democrats were wildly ahead of this. If we can plausibly, colorably, make millions cumulatively of ineligible voters, plausibly eligible, then of course that is an enormous, political force inside the country that can change the outcome of elections. And again, I'm astounded that more people aren't angry that it's at the cost, not even of disenfranchising other voters, but it's at the cost of lives. Literally, people have lost their lives because of this aggressive policy to qualify anybody and everybody for that driver's license.
I don't know if you saw this. I just saw this on social media, and I think it's right. I think it was from today. The San Joaquin sheriff. So they just identified people that are voting in American elections that have never even been in the country. Voters from Pakistan, because they go on an online site. It's on your honor. Are you a legal voter? Check the box, yes. Check the box, yes. And you're going to get a ballot. I mean, these scams are far and wide, and they run deep, and we've got to clean up the SAVE Act. Incredibly important. Last word to you.
Yeah, this goes to the heart of being a law and order country. One person, one vote, safe roads. I'm a personal injury lawyer, my day job, right? I have my radio show. And so I see this, day in and day out. I see people actually getting hurt. And because people do not know what the signs say. Okay, wrong way means wrong way. If you go into a wrong way, people are going to die. So this is hugely important. It really shouldn't be a partisan issue at all. The fact that it is tells you everything you need to know about the Democratic Party today.
Yeah, everything you need to know. We don't want to have ID, although John Ossoff just required ID to come to his rally. A rally that he wouldn't be senator at if there was voter ID. It's the strangest thing, Sam. Anyhow, greatly appreciate it. Always a good conversation, my friend.
Appreciate it. Take care, Steve.
All right. Before we go to break, I want to remind you that Real America's Music has a new release out titled The Boss by Natasha Owens, a patriotic response to Bruce Springsteen's recent song attacking ICE and immigration enforcement. Here's a sneak preview.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Thank God you're not. I thank God
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love RAV because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
We are seeing a wave of employment headlines hit all at once. Layoffs creeping higher, job openings cooling, more people filing for unemployment than expected. So what's really happening under the hood? And why is the Federal Reserve still in the wait-and-see mode? Some say this is the economy rolling over. Others call it a reset. Let's break down what these signals really tell us. Joining me is precious metals specialist from the Birch Gold Group, Philip Patrick. Philip, nice to see you today. I've got this beautiful coin in my hand. It says Birch Gold on it. It's a beautiful piece of silver that has gone up about, I mean, it was, you sent these out last year. They're a promotional item. They were great. It's worth a lot more today than it was then. We were just talking about this in the break. Silver had a huge run up, and then it cooled off, had its biggest sell-off in, 50 years, something like that. But now it seems to be going back up again. Gives me a little bit of whiplash. What are your thoughts when you see the economy, everything going on, a string of employment headlines, all these layoffs and so forth? Metal doesn't lose its value. It might go up and down, but it's always worth something, isn't it?
It's always worth something, and as we've been seeing in climates like this, they're both gold and silver performing very, very well. I want to create some context. As you know very well, last year was an incredible year for silver, grew 150%. Yes. We started this year with an absolute explosion. There was a point 3 weeks into January where silver was up 50% in 3 weeks. We saw a retracement back about 35%. For us in the industry, it is very much welcome. And for anybody that understands how traders work, when we see such aggressive upside in an asset, there's always going to be profit taking. There's always going to be margin calls. What's encouraging is those were coming predominantly from leverage in the paper market. This wasn't a sell-off of long-term holders of physical gold and silver. Longer term, I think silver continues to move. I think we'll re-hit those highs and drive beyond. The main demand right now is coming from central governments. This is on the back of a need to win the AI race, for complex weaponry, and everything in between. These buyers are price insensitive. There is a realization globally there isn't enough silver. So China have put export controls on any physical silver leaving China. So we're seeing supply tighten at the same time that demand is exploding. So for me, this retracement was welcome. It's created a buying opportunity, but it hasn't changed the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, I mean, everywhere you look, you see a headline about a data center being built. It's going to cover this many acres. It needs this much silver and this much water. I mean, it demands critical materials. And if there's a shortage of silver on the planet, then this coin that says Birch Gold on it is going to continue. Well, I don't mean to say it this way. It's worth its weight in gold, Philip, in a way, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Some critics say the headlines mean the economy is slowly and rolling over. What's your real take on it?
Look, I reject that premise. This is clearly not a weak economy. Under President Trump, growth has been stronger, confidence is higher. We've got businesses wanting to invest. We've got hundreds of billions in investment guarantees. We've turned tariffs into a revenue generator. So this idea that the economy is struggling under Trump is a nonsense. The key difference today, though, is that the business cycle's changed, right? Look at the starting conditions that President Trump walked into. What we're seeing here is not weakness. This is the effect of 25 years of economic mismanagement. Think about how we've walked into past economic booms, past growth phases. We had manageable debt, both household and federal. We had affordable housing. We had flexible fiscal space. Today, despite strong economic growth and historically low unemployment, we're entering a business cycle with astronomical federal debt on top of ongoing federal deficits, record levels of household debt. So I think it's a mistake to call this a slowdown. It's like you've got a strong engine pulling just a much heavier load. Whether you're driving an 18-wheeler or the world's largest economy, when the load's heavier, the margin for error is much, much smaller, even when the driver's doing everything right. And I think that's the problem we're facing.
So now's a good time not to ignore gold and silver. Maybe it's time to take a look and say, look, the dollar, if it's not worth what it was yesterday, and it's not, and tomorrow it'll be worth less, we got to do something about that. Last word to you.
Absolutely correct. Listen, we don't know what's happening exactly. If we did, we'd put all of our money into one thing. But the reality is we don't. And I think now is not the time for bold predictions. It's the time for humility. And when forecasts are diverging, when confidence is a liability, the smart approach is not trying to guess the outcome. It's preparing for multiple paths. And like I always say, you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And that's what precious metals allow people to do in this climate.
Diversification is what he's saying. Phil Patrick, always appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Now, if you'd like an education more robust, text the word America to 989898. Claim your free information kit on gold today. Text America to 989898. And remember, this is worth about 3 times what it was when I got it a year ago. Nice coin. All right, when we come back, something that makes America wonderful. We do it every day. Plus your answers to the America's Voice question of the day. What do you think about Bad Bunny's halftime performance? I don't know. I didn't see it. So you'll have to tell me, America, after this.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love Rav because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
All right, what makes America wonderful? We do it every day to put a smile on your face before you go on your way. Look, today's story comes to us from Turning Point USA and their All-American Halftime Show. While the NFL leaned into pop culture spectacle, Turning Point offered viewers a very different choice on Super Bowl Sunday. Millions, tens of millions tuned in. Hello, NFL. The live stream aired simultaneously with the Super Bowl halftime show and quickly surged in popularity, drawing tens of millions of viewers across digital platforms. The event resonated with Americans who wanted music, messaging, and performance centered on traditional values and national pride. The show featured well-known artists like Kid Rock, Lee Brice, Brantley Gilbert, and Gabby Barrett, blending country and rock with a strong patriotic tone, and they seemed to like it. Organizers also used the broadcast to honor TPUSA founder, the late Charlie Kirk, highlighting his impact on America. Supporters flooded social media praising the event as refreshing, meaningful, and long overdue, while critics predictably pushed back. Still, the numbers tell a clear story. Tens of millions chose the patriotic message over the NFL's cultural direction, signaling a growing appetite for alternatives that reflect conservative values. And that, my friends, most certainly reminds us of what makes America wonderful. Leaving garbage and doing something different. All right, so what do you think about the halftime shows? Bad Bunny versus TPUSA. Rick Severs. Turning Point brought faith, family, and freedom to the stage. The NFL brought politics and globalism. Greg Oman immediately changed to Real America's Voice to watch TPUSA show. Well done, Greg. There's an extra gold star in it for you today, my friend. Mary Elizabeth didn't watch. TPUSA was great. Randy Johnson, I didn't watch the Spanish show, had no interest in it. I did watch it. I did watch the TPUSA. It was good, and I enjoyed it. Sandra Eigner, we watched the Turning Point show, loved it. Janet Crumley, sad Bad Bunny was a mess. TPUSA was amazing. Thank you, Rav, for having it on. God save America. I think I'll leave it there for today. The game wasn't much. The Seahawks ate the Patriots for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I saw that part of it. Not a lot of it, a little bit of it. I wasn't that interested. I did see the TPUSA halftime show. I enjoyed it myself. Didn't see Bad Bunny. Didn't care. I think we're onto something here. When you hit the NFL in its pocketbook, because advertisers are saying, whoa, yeah, that makes a difference, folks. Strength in numbers. God bless America. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for the Steve Gruber Show to kick off Real America's Voice live programming. Until then.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
information. And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis, while Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class.
It's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.